basement of La Penta. This is WICR.
Hello, Iona College. Welcome back to the Sports Vault. I am your host with the most, Jersey Joe, coming with my partner, as always, Big Shot Rob. And Rob, it's good to be back.
Definitely is, and we got a lot of football to talk about.
Oh my God, what a weekend of games, college and pro. I said it on Twitter, on Facebook, everywhere. We had so much to talk about. It's funny because I always want to write out everything I want to say, but why not just wait until we're on the air? So let's get right into it with a wild Sunday in the NFL. The first game I want to go over is the New Orleans Saints and the Atlanta Falcons. If you're watching us on Ustream, you can see I have the Matt Ryan jersey on today. And all I have to say is it's good to see Matty Ice back. I was talking about this a little on the morning show. That's a game Atlanta loses last year. They didn't have that kind of toughness, that endurance last year to get through a tough win like that. But that was a phenomenal game. Matt Ryan was outstanding. I really liked what I saw out of Atlanta. I hope that this is the tempo we're going to see from Atlanta this season. I picked New Orleans to win the game, so I lost it there. But you know what? It's good to see from Atlanta there.
Yeah, it definitely is, Joe. After such a disappointing season last year, they brought back Tony Gonzalez, and just the way they finished last year. Now, coming out like this, great comeback versus Saints. I had the Saints in this one, too. I didn't expect the Falcons to come out all fired up, and just what an amazing comeback, outscoring them 24-14 in the second half, and Matty Ryan just throwing for 448 yards and 3 touchdowns. Amazing start for the Falcons.
Absolutely. Let's really hope that they can pull it up. Now, the next team, I'm sorry, Rob, but I'm going to get a little upset here with the Chicago Bears knocking me out of my elimination pool. I thought yesterday there was 3 games that were safer than anything. I thought the Bears, the Eagles, and the Chiefs, you were guaranteed to get a win there. 2 of those teams did not show up. The Bears, one of them. Jay Cutler and the Bears offense got off to a good start, but you know what? They just really faded away. That Bears defense looked miserable. And look, for all the talk about E.J. Manuel and how disappointed the Bills were with his progression, he looked pretty good to me the other day. I mean, that's a big win on the road. Soldier Field week 1 for a second-year player. That is a tough thing to do, and you got to give the Bills a lot of credit. But if you're a Bears fan today, now, some of these things, it's maybe a little overreaction in week 1, but still, I mean, you gotta be a little concerned with what you saw from the Bears yesterday.
Yeah, most definitely, Joe. This Bears team over the last couple of years, I'm getting surprised with them. I expect more out of them, especially with Jay Cutler and Brandon Marshall on the field. This was a very disappointing loss yesterday. There's no reason they should have lost to the Bills, but I have to say right now, E.J. Manuel is really surprising me. He's playing up to the caliber he was doing last year, and I think he's going to have a great year this year, and I expect a lot out of the Bills, but very disappointing start for the Bears. This is a division that they have to win. Yes, they have to play Green Bay and Detroit in this division, but they have to start winning in this division, especially with a great team they have.
And I definitely agree with your point on E.J. Manuel. I mean, we talked a lot about him last year. We like E.J. a lot, and it was disappointing in the preseason, and then you heard all the talk about in Buffalo, how they're not happy with him. But look, the guy's putting up the results. That was a good game, and let's hope he can keep it up. And for the Bears, they will play the 49ers this Sunday night, and all I have to say on that is Colin Kaepernick's going to have a field day on this team with the way that defense looked, but definitely we'll have our eye on that game. The next game to go over to is the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens. This game was kind of a dogfight. The Bengals really dominated for the most part, but they could never punch it in the end zone. I mean, they just kept settling for field goal after field goal. The Ravens caught up to them at a moment, but then A.J. Green had the huge catch at the end. I did not like what I saw from Baltimore yesterday. I thought Joe Flacco looked very sloppy. They didn't get much out of the running game with Bernard Pierce yesterday. I would say for the Ravens, this is a little bit disappointing. For the Bengals, they're getting up there. I mean, that's a big divisional tough road win there for the Bengals, and this is going to really set them up later in the season.
Yes, Joe. And when you look at it, too, if yesterday we see how the presence of not having Ray Rice there really affected this team, because Ray Rice would be a very big differentiation for this team. I really cannot believe they lost to the Bengals yesterday. Very disappointing. When I was watching from work yesterday, field goal after field goal, I kept seeing Cincinnati putting up. Very disappointing, and I expected a big win from Baltimore coming into this one.
Yeah, I had Baltimore winning this game as well, and it just didn't happen. But Steve Smith, I think that hopefully he'll come out. Pittsburgh and Baltimore play the Thursday night game this week. It's going to be a tough game there. But we'll pick that one later in the week. Then the next game on the slate is the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns. Now, this was just an unbelievable game. I mean, the first half, it was all Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh dominated, but the game ended 30-27. Cleveland really almost came back in this game, which was unbelievable. Ben Roethlisberger made some huge plays. Antonio Brown looked unbelievable. The running game was good, but you got to be a little worried about that Pittsburgh defense because Cleveland really moved the ball. I mean, they really almost came back in this game. And I think if you're Pittsburgh, the game you have this week against Baltimore is going to be huge, but I'm a little concerned. I mean, I expressed my views on Friday. I said I didn't really like Pittsburgh that much, but I mean, I don't know. Pittsburgh's a weird team right now.
Yeah, they most definitely are. Not impressed yesterday whatsoever. Should have blown the Browns out completely after the way they played that first half. Antonio Brown yesterday finishing with 116 yards, 1 touchdown. But this Pittsburgh team is starting to look a lot like the team from last year that struggled deeply on defense, and I could see them finishing 8-8 in their division yet again.
Yeah,
or even less.
I picked them like 6-7 wins before we started everything, but I don't know. It's good. I really want to see how they look against Baltimore this Thursday. That's going to tell me a lot going forward. Now the next game, Rob, got to drop the hammer on the Chiefs. I'm dropping the hammer on the Chiefs. Now, we said it. I thought that they would definitely take a step back this year, but losing at home against the Titans in Week 1 is just inexcusable. Inexcusable. I mean, Andy, I cannot believe what I saw there. Now, Tennessee, maybe I have to reevaluate. I really didn't think they were going to be able to do this. I mean, so I'm going to definitely have to reevaluate my viewpoint on Tennessee. But Kansas City, Alex Smith looked awful. And the thing we always say about Alex Smith is when he plays outside of his comfort zone, when you start to open the field and you start to put more of a vertical passing offense for him, he's going to make a lot of mistakes. He throws a lot of interceptions. When you keep everything in front of him, 10 yards here, 12 yards there, that's when he's at his best. And the Chiefs really just struggled yesterday. Derek Johnson is now out for the year, which is about as big a blow to the defensive side of the ball as you can get for them. It's going to be a rough year for the Chiefs. It really is.
Yeah, could you possibly be saying one-year wonder right now?
Oh, man.
Team? Alex Smith completely played terrible yesterday. Not the accurate passer we usually see, Joe, who could throw for over 200 yards and throw for like 19 for 28, my apology. But this game was terrible yesterday. Cannot believe they lost. I expected a lot more coming back into the season after the playoffs last year. But Tennessee, Jake Locker is healthy yet again. Came back playing healthy, playing like he did last year at the start of the season. And I expect a lot out of him this year.
Yeah, you know, Locker's kind of weird because before he got hurt last year, he wasn't playing badly. He wasn't. And he didn't look bad in the game yesterday. I mean, is he the guy there for the future? Probably not. But look, Ken Whisenhunt's a great offensive guy, and he's really getting the most out of what he can from him. Now, Rob, next game, we got your Jets on the slate, so I'm going to let you run away with it. That's your team. Tell us what we need to know.
It was a disappointing win.
Disappointing win. I think that's the best way to put it.
I'd rather have taken the loss in the column for this one.
Wow.
Should have blown out this team completely by 30 points. The Jets' defense played great, held them in the game, held Derek Carr in this game. Did better than a lot of people thought they would do. But this Jets team has to keep improving. If Chris Ivory does not run for that 73-yard rushing touchdown, Jets don't win this game. And you know what? The offense needs to start moving more. And I see the Jets struggling this year deeply. I did see improvement when Geno Smith played great. But one interception starting off already with the interceptions, not too happy about that.
Yeah, I don't think you should be. And here's the thing. I did like, though, what I saw in the red zone. They had some really interesting formations with Michael Vick lining up as a receiver in one of them. They had Eric Decker. They had another nice play there. They had some nice plays in the red zone there. But I definitely think if you're a Jets fan, you would have liked to see a little bit more out of your team there. But a win is a win, and you've got to move on there. Now, this next game was about as bad as watching paint dry. It was the St. Louis Rams and the Minnesota Vikings. The Rams just had nothing. I mean, it was just miserable. They took Sean Hill was taken out of the game with an apparent injury. Their next guy, I think his name was Austin Davis. He was awful, and it was just a horrendous game. The Rams, I feel bad. I mean, their defense is great, but this offense is just miserable. I mean, even in week 1, I don't know what to expect. I mean, it was just horrible.
Yeah, this game was miserable, Joe. I picked them for my pick'ems this
Yep,
week.
yeah, so did I. It was a rough week.
I think it's time to start looking for a QB to trade for, like Mark Sanchez. I know he's not a great quarterback, but you need to put something in St. Louis right now.
And I agree. I mean, Mark Sanchez with that defense is a million times better than. I can't see how he could be possibly any worse than what you had on the field yesterday. I mean, it was really tough to watch there. So we'll see if the Rams make a move, but they should. Now, after that, you have the New England Patriots and the Miami Dolphins. We've got a huge Dolphins fan who was on the morning show earlier today, Armand Medeo, so he was on there, and he's a very happy man. But what a win for the Dolphins. I mean, the Dolphins have played the Patriots very tough the last couple years, and what a monster win. I mean, outscoring the Patriots 20-0 in the second half. That was a monster win there, really was.
Yeah, most definitely was, Joe. I'm really happy about this. Thank God for the Dolphins this week. I'm so happy to see the Patriots lose in week 1. But, Joe, when you look at the Patriots, you look at their offseason, what they did for their defense, one of the top defenses, and I just can't believe what happened yesterday, giving up 33 points and 134 rushing yards. Al Marino on their defense. This team, I really have high expectations for them. Not impressed whatsoever in week 1.
No, I mean, we went on and on and on about how good this Patriots defense looked, and about in the offseason how that's been like their problem the last couple of years, and it didn't look too good yesterday. I will say on the Dolphin side, I saw a lot on Twitter Cameron Wake's name all over the place. I'm glad he's finally getting the recognition he deserves because he is a heck of a football player, and I think after that big win the other day, his name's kind of coming into the limelight even more, so that's nice to see because Cameron Wake should get attention. He's a tremendous player. Let's go on to the next one. The Jacksonville Jaguars and the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the Eagles won this game 34-17, but the Jaguars led for the most part of this game, and I never like picking against the Jaguars because I think this team really is headed in the right direction. I think Gus Bradley, you can see it. He's got this team energized. He has them playing pretty good football. I just think that there's going to be a point where you got to put Blake Bortles in. Chad Henne showed you he's got some flash for a bit, but at the end of the day, Chad Henne's not going to cut it. I'd really like to see Blake Bortles get some time at some point in the season, but the Jaguars gave him a fight. The Eagles got off to a really slow start and came out of it.
Yeah, this game was awesome, Joe, from the start. Jacksonville opened up on a 17-0 run. Couldn't believe it, though, whatsoever, how they let the Eagles fall right back in. The defense collapsed, giving up 34 unanswered points in the second half. What a collapse. But this Jacksonville team, Joe, as you said, I expect Blake Bortles starting in the next 2 weeks. I'm sorry. I think Chad Henne's a decent quarterback, but you got to give it to Bortles because I think he could be the true leader for this team.
I really do. I think they're like that player away. That defense is good enough. They have good offensive personnel. I really, really am pulling for Blake Bortles there. And just looking forward a little bit, the Monday night game next week is Indianapolis and Philadelphia, which is going to be a really, really good game. But I think Andrew Luck against Foles next week is going to be great. As of now, again, it's still early, but I'm heading for, I think I would pick the Colts if I had to make the pick today. But that's going to be a really good game next week. Now, let's go on to the next one, the Washington Redskins and the Houston Texans. And all I have to say is RG3 and the Redskins, what is going on? Houston's defense was unbelievable the other day. J.J. Watt has earned his money. He was making plays all over the field. But RG3, man, I look at him in his press conferences. I look at his body language. I just see no confidence there. I really do. I mean, you look at the way things went with this offense the other day. They didn't throw the ball down the field at all. It's just, I see no confidence in RG3 anymore. I don't know what's happening down there. I really don't.
I thought he was supposed to prove us all wrong like he's been saying the past couple weeks.
Didn't
that he
work
has
in
so
week
much to
one.
show. This was terrible. Redskins are back to normal, just like where they were last year. They're going to finish in last place in their division. And I'm saying give Cousins a starting quarterback job in the next couple weeks.
Wow.
Because RG3 is not going to do anything for this team.
You're
I'm sorry.
advocating for Cousins already after one game.
Yes, I am. Hands down, better quarterback over RG3. He is, ever since his ACL injury, the guy cannot play. I'm sorry. His whole game was running. He cannot run anymore. His season's done already. I'm looking at him now. This guy cannot play. I'm sorry.
Well, look, I'm concerned. I really am, especially about the confidence issue. I mean, if you don't have confidence in yourself in this league, you're going to be set back a lot. But I got to watch him a little bit more. But look, I'm a little worried about Washington right now. I really am. Let's go to the next one. The San Francisco 49ers getting a win on the road 28-17 against the Cowboys. Before we dissect the game, I just want to say, did you see how many 49ers fans were at that game? When you watch that game and you look at one of the first possessions, and the Niners were in the red zone, I think there was more Niners fans there than Cowboys fans. Every time the Niners had the ball, it sounded like a Niners home game. It looked like a Niners home game. And maybe that's reflective of just how fed up Cowboys fans are with the way things have gone. And on the way the game went, you would understand. I mean, at some points with the interceptions Romo was throwing, I mean, some of the first plays were kind of just epitomized his career. I mean, a beautiful drive down into the red zone, throws a pick in the end zone. Eric Reed had a beautiful interception. I mean, some of these picks, it was comical after a point with these interceptions he was throwing. But the Niners look very good offensively. Colin Kaepernick, really liked what I saw out of him. I mean, it was a great win for the Niners. And the Cowboys, I think that's what you've got to expect from your team this year.
Hey, Joe, but they're America's team. Don't forget, everybody says they're America's team. One of the worst franchises right now over the last couple years. Complete disappointment. We saw how Tony Romo coming back from this back surgery, how rusty he was throwing these 3 picks. And I'm sorry, this was an embarrassing game. And we just look at this Cowboys team under Jerry Jones the last couple years. Jones has been ruining this team, and that's why you're seeing all these 49ers fans at the games. The team is not improving whatsoever. They trade away draft picks like no tomorrow to get guys that end up failing in the NFL. And you know what? This Cowboys team is a true disappointment to football.
I mean, look, the way things have gone, if you're a Cowboys fan, you have a reason to be fed up because Jerry Jones wants to control everything. I mean, I got a lot of questions about this weekend, and my take is Jerry Jones is a control freak. He wants a weak head coach who he can control, and that's why you get a Jason Garrett and you get all this instability on his staff. And look, it's just a disaster right now. It really is. I mean, the Cowboys this year, it's not going to be good, and I think realistic fans understand that, and you're just in for a rough season, so buckle up. After that, you've got the Carolina Panthers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I picked the Panthers on Friday when I thought Cam Newton was playing, and I got to admit, I panicked. When I heard Cam Newton was out, I switched my pick right away to the Buccaneers. I should have kept my pick. It was ugly. It really was for Tampa Bay. McCown, towards the end of the game, got some drives going, but overall, he was just looked miserable. Doug Martin, he was running into a brick wall every single time into Carolina. It was really looked ugly for the Buccaneers, and a lot of people like Tampa Bay this year. I had them going 6-10. It was just really ugly for Tampa Bay. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah, I would say this was the worst game of the day, Joe, this game overall, because you know what? Without Cam Newton on the field, we saw how Carolina is all different. I mean, Derek Anderson stepped it up big time, throwing for 2 touchdowns, played a pretty decent game.
He did really step up well. He did.
But Tampa, no improvement. I didn't see any improvement from last year. We still are seeing this team not improve whatsoever. McCown is not the savior for this team. Should have drafted a quarterback. But I'm hoping next week Cam Newton could come back because he really needs to help my fantasy team out.
Oh, yeah, you definitely know. We'll talk a little fantasy too, Big Shot Rob. Now, the game of the night, I said how excited I was for this game, and it did not disappoint at all. The Indianapolis Colts and the Denver Broncos, it was really a tale of two halves. I mean, the Broncos could not be stopped offensively in the first half, and the Colts, before the start of halftime, they went down the field and got a score on the board, which was huge. And the Colts came out and dominated the second half. They really could have won that game. It's just a couple of their early red zone possessions were really ugly, and that's really what ended up being the end. But if you still haven't bought into the Andrew Luck thing, you got to get on the board because he is just such a good young quarterback. He keeps his teams in these games. I mean, the thing I like about him, too, is you saw him, he threw a couple picks there, but they don't phase him, and I think that's big for a young guy like him because he just comes back, it doesn't phase him, he brings his team right back down the field, and one of the picks wasn't his fault. Kobe Fleener really didn't look good there, but for the Broncos, it's a win. You got to take the win, and it's against a good team too, but definitely there, I mean, it was just a hard-fought win between two of the best teams in the NFL.
Yeah, it most definitely was, Joe. And I'm telling you right now, Andrew Luck in the next couple years will be leading the Colts to a Super Bowl. I have a lot of faith in this kid.
I mean, look, I think right now, currently, there are three guys in sports who I can't get enough watching. Clayton Kershaw, Andrew Luck, and LeBron James for me. I mean, those guys epitomize just perfection for me, and they're just so much fun to watch. I can't get enough of those guys. I'm sure if you follow me on Twitter or on anywhere else, you'll see because I probably tweet about them about 70 times a day. But let's go on to the two Monday night games tonight. A really good doubleheader. The Detroit Lions and the New York Giants. I have the Lions winning this game tonight. Really, really got to see how the Giants look on the offensive end because they really did not look good in the preseason. I think that offensive line has got a lot of question marks on it. But if you fix the line, I think that the Giants will be better. I see so many parallels between the Chargers in 2012 with Phillip Rivers and the Giants last year with Eli Manning. The Chargers showed, that offensive line was horrendous. Phillip Rivers' play really suffered as a result. I believe he had 27 picks and 20 interceptions, which is not his normal stat line, but they fixed the line last year, really played much better. Phillip Rivers brings the Chargers back to the playoffs. I think if the Giants fix the line, Eli Manning will get back on track, but we're going to have to see what happens there tonight. Rob, are you taking the Lions?
Yeah, I'm taking the Lions also. I really do not think this West Coast offense is going to work for the Giants. I think it's going to take a couple more weeks before it finally hits them and fits in with their system. But Detroit, I think they're just going to blow them out tonight. Calvin Johnson and Golden Tate are going to have a nice field day against them.
Yeah, I really want to see how Golden Tate fits into the Lions offense. That's going to be one of the things I'll definitely be watching out for. Now, the final game, the Arizona Cardinals and the San Diego Chargers. Now, the Chargers, one of my teams, along with the Lions. Unfortunately, I hate picking against my teams, but I think the Cardinals are going to win here. I think it's a close game. I have the Cardinals winning 23-20. Arizona's defense is outstanding. I think Carson Palmer will look a little bit better in Bruce Arians' system this year. I think it's going to be a close game. If the Chargers win, I wouldn't be surprised. They're a good team as well. But it's just going to be a great football game, and I think Arizona's just going to win it by a field goal.
I'm taking the Chargers, Joe, in this one. I got to take your team for this one. I overall think they're going to win, and my main reason for this is I'm not impressed with Carson Palmer. I haven't been impressed with him the last couple years, and I don't expect him to come out doing anything big tonight. However, we might see Peterson affect Phillip Rivers tonight, and that's why this game is going to be really close tonight. But overall, I have San Diego winning by a touchdown.
Nice. Now, before we cap off the segment, I'm going to ask you, what was your biggest surprise or disappointment from Week 1? Could be any team, biggest surprise, biggest disappointment, either one.
My biggest disappointment was the Patriots this week.
Patriots, okay.
I really thought their defense would have stepped it up big time, and the Dolphins just gave it to them. The Dolphins were the biggest surprise of the week. Nobody thought the Dolphins were going to come out and trash this team like they did in the second half. It was just an amazing game how they played.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. For me, I think it has to be the Bears. I loved what I saw from the Bears offensively last year. I thought Mark Trestman had them going in such a good direction. I thought defensively they were a mess. That looks like it's still the case, but losing at home to the Bills Week 1, man, I'm just still searching for words to describe how surprised I am at that. But that's going to do it for this segment. When we come back, we're going to tell you everything you need to know about the college football Week 2. It was a great week in college football. So many big games, so stay with us, and we will be right back.